Yo, what is up guys? Draco Sean here, back with another video. I'm gonna be on this one straight away because I've just read the chapter 1169. We were on break for like 2 weeks, so I'm gonna get straight to this. Firstly, wow, yeah, so this chapter's not that long. Not too much happens in it in terms of what we expected, but I think there's some interesting things to point out. So I think the biggest talking point right now is Shanks and Gaban's conversation at the start of the chapter. So we find out, apparently according to Gaban, that Shanks knows that Roger has a son. Now this has been a popular theory for a while that the reason why Shanks showed up to the village was to find Ace, not anyone else. He went specifically to the East Blue to find Ace. And it's funny because Gaban got this information from Garp, and obviously now Gaban has relayed this information to Shanks. So this kind of confirms potentially that Shanks wanted to give the devil fruit to Ace. It looks like this is confirming that this is really supporting that agenda now. If it doesn't support it, I'll be very surprised. And I think with the Shanks Gaban conversation, it's really interesting because we are getting this information from Shanks himself. Because remember, if you go back to last chapter, Shanks apparently abandoned a mission, and obviously we know that's intentional. We know he's playing a spy at this point. But it's interesting in this chapter, we get it from his point of view. Now, I do wonder where Shanks got all this information from. Maybe Garling just told Shanks without caring, or did Shamrock tell this information to Shanks in secret? Because Shanks mentions the Great One, which he mentions Emu. He doesn't mention Emu by name, but he calls the person the Great One. So this confirms now that Shanks potentially knows about the secrets of the world government now. Like, he knows about Emu, basically. And it's cool also that we get to see from Shanks' point of view how he met Harald. Because remember, Harald said he saw Shanks before. We don't know what he meant by that initially. And it turns out now apparently Harald met Shanks. I don't know when, but he knew at the time because Shanks was the captain of the Red Hair Pirates, which makes a lot of sense if you look at the timeline, because at the time when Shanks was in the Holy Land, he still would have been the captain of the Red Hair Pirates. So I don't know how that whole thing works out, but now it confirms that Harald met Shanks out of the Holy Land also, while at sea. So that, I think, is really important. But I think Shanks found out this information very recently, I'm assuming, because he wanted to tell Harald before it was too late. And obviously Harald already made the pact with Emu, and now he became one of the God Knights pretty much. But obviously becoming a God Knight has a risk, and I do wonder now, looking at all the other God Knights, I do wonder if there's going to be a turning point in some of these God Knights. I think Gonko could be the first one, but might not be the last, because I'm looking at some of these other God Knights. They may have been granted incredible powers, but some of these God Knights could easily turn on Emu, because this pact that you make, this devil pact, which Emu at this point feels like the devil at this point. Emu feels like the devil, so it just feels natural that most of these subordinates of Emu are going to turn on him as well. So I wouldn't be surprised, because it's almost, again, it's making the deal with the devil. And obviously now, you know, we see it from Shanks' point of view. I'm assuming Shanks got this information from Shamrock, and I think this is going to lead to an interesting point with Shamrock, because Shamrock, I think, is going to play a role in this final war. I don't know what he's going to do, but we know he's going to be a big factor. I could see Shamrock turning on the world government, definitely, because we know also that, you know, he's not a typical celestial dragon, because he was born from, you know, a normal human, as they call them, and obviously a celestial dragon. So he's technically, because he's like Shanks as well, he's not a pure blood celestial dragon. So I do wonder where this is going to go, but I'm excited. But yeah, I think seeing this with Shanks, I think, is interesting now. And also, we confirm in this chapter that Shanks and Gaban were at the castle when the massacre happened. So it's not as if the massacre happened and then Shanks and Gaban showed up later. No, Shanks and Gaban showed up immediately, because they sensed the haki coming from Harald and I'm assuming Loki, but mainly Harald, I would say. But this adds so much to it. But yeah, I mean, realistically right now, Shanks and Gaban are both there with Harald. So what is going to happen? I don't know. Are the three of them going to team up? Because obviously now, if this is the case, why does Loki have a grudge against Shanks? Because we know now Shanks knows the truth about the massacre, and so does Gaban. So why would they be hiding something? Unless there's more to this than meets the eye. So we're gonna find out more, I'm assuming. But yeah, as for the side of Harold, now Harold for me has become one of the most controversial characters in One Piece ever. I'm Team Harold. Again, I'm gonna save that for another video because I don't want to do a video on Harold now. I want to do a video on Harold once this arc is finished, and once we get his full ending and everything, what happens. Then I'm gonna do a full assessment of him because I'm a huge fan of this character. I think this is one of the best characters Oda's written in a while. And you know, I think a lot of people hate him, a lot of people like him. I like Harold personally. I know a lot of people don't like him. I'm gonna explain why, because I don't disagree with some of the actions he made. Some of the actions were wrong, but some of them were correct as well at the same time, which I'm gonna get to that. But that's gonna be saved for another video. But I think in this chapter, obviously we've seen now Harold. I think he said what I thought he was gonna be saying. Try and kill me because now I'm gonna be possessed by Emu, and it's incredible because this form of possession is really weird. It's not like with Rox's possession, because when you saw with Rox, he got completely dummy reversed, but this is completely different. Harold's still in his normal true form, but the difference is that he's just he subconsciously cannot control himself, because it's almost like when Emu gives you a command, you have to follow that command. If you don't follow that command, I'm assuming there's certain rules to this. I think again Oda's definitely going to explain more about Emu's powers. But I think seeing this chapter, seeing Loki and Jarul turning up there, and obviously it's a big burden on Loki because he's asking his own son to kill him, and obviously take the throne of Elbaf. He wants Loki to be the king of Elbaf, but seeing Harold in this chapter, I mean, he said what I thought he was gonna say. He can't control himself. He doesn't care what happens. Again, Harold is a man dedicated to protecting his country. He doesn't care if he dies. He does not give a damn if he dies. So in this chapter, looking at it, I think it's a big move from Harold. But obviously the fact that I think Shanks and Gaban are there now really adds the weight, because also now we know that Shanks has the information on why Harold has turned this way, because obviously all the other giants, Loki and Jor, they don't know anything about what the hell is happening with Harald. The only person that knows what's going on is Shanks, and potentially Gaban, because Shanks has told Gaban this information. So I'm assuming Shanks is going to relay this information, I'm sure, to, maybe the people of Elbaf one day, maybe when he comes back. But because obviously we know that Harold is remembered as a king, as a good benevolent king. He's not remembered as a villain. So I do wonder what's going to happen from this. But because obviously if Loki and Gaban are there, sorry, Shanks and Gaban are there, and plus Loki, are the three of them going to team up to take on Harald? I mean, I've said this about Harald. I think Harald could potentially be the strongest character in One Piece. Like, I'm talking stronger than Roger, than Garp, maybe even Rox. I mean, Rox said Harald has the power to destroy the world. So, that's a big statement. Now, I think the interesting to point out now, the next talking point in this chapter, I think, is the devil fruit. Now, Jarul says a really interesting quote saying like, if Harald eats the fruit, he could have the power literally to destroy the world. Which is funny because Rox said the same thing, but Rox even said that regardless, whether he ate the devil fruit or not, it looks like. But maybe, I mean, we don't know what this devil fruit is. Now, I've made theories about the devil fruit on Elbaf. I think the devil fruit on Elbaf is still the Gum Gum fruit, or the Nika Nika fruit, because there's just so many hints. Looking at the timeline of when this takes place, to when Shanks gives the devil fruit to Luffy, it makes so much sense. And it's interesting because Loki's going to be one to eat it, but at the end of this chapter, Loki enters the room, we see the hammer of Ragnar, and we see the box, but there's not, again, we don't know. I'm assuming that the Gum Gum fruit, or sorry, the Nika Nika fruit is in the box, and this hammer is like the protector of the devil fruit. And it's so cool because obviously, the hammer is meant to represent Mjolnir, and if you don't watch Marvel, if you don't watch Thor movies, everyone should know what that hammer means. I mean, if you know anything about Norse mythology as well, which is Elbaf is based on as well, everyone knows that Mjolnir is meant to be Thor's hammer, which in this case is Loki's hammer now. So, it's cool because Loki gets Ragnar. We know that now. Now, does Loki eat the devil fruit? I don't think so. Because again, remember, going back to what Rock said as well, Rock stated there were 2 devil fruits he was after. Now, I have my theories on both these. I have an idea what these devil fruits are. I think one of them is Blackbeard's fruit, the Yummy Yummy no Mi, and the other devil fruit I think Rox is talking about is Luffy's devil fruit, the Nika Nika fruit. That's what I'm assuming, but listen, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But yeah, wow. Very short chapter. I was hoping to get a bit more, but you know what? I think this is just a continuation. I think next chapter we're gonna get even more stuff now. But I don't think that I've missed anything out. I think for character, it's good for Harald. It's good for Shanks. I think it's really cool that we find out that Shanks knows about Roger's son. So that I think is really important. And for Loki, it's a big character moment as well because, you know, he's the one who's gonna have to make the tough call here to kill Harald, his own dad. I do wonder if Loki finds out more information about the world government from Harald, or because obviously Emu's identity is meant to be a secret, so I do wonder how many people are going to find out about Emu after this incident. So yeah. Oh, and by the way, I completely forgot to even mention this. There's some artwork. I couldn't believe what I saw. It was all the Rocks pirates just sitting down. It was brilliant. So yeah. But anyway, but yeah, that's the video. Not much to talk about in this chapter. I think last chapter was a bit better than this one personally, but I think this one definitely had some interesting information revealed, and we'll see where this goes. But again, this flashback for me is turning out to be the best flashback in One Piece. But anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I would love to hear your thoughts on the chapter. Peace out. Have a good day.